7 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivets. So this week we had the two semifinals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We also had a contract signing between Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura. The show started with Charlie, whatever her last name is, Caruso, I think, giving us an update on the tag team tournament. We were then thrown to one of the matchups in Los Angeles. The show began with Team DIY against the Authors of Pain. Obviously, the crowd was on Team DIY side. At one point, all four men were in the ring. Authors of Pain went to throw Gargano and Ciampa into each other, but they countered with some super kicks and sent them to the outside to recover. Gargano went for a dive, but he was caught. Ciampa then attempted his own dive, but they threw Gargano right into him. Authors of Pain were in control at this point. Ellering even got involved. He slammed Gargano's head against the mat. Akam had Gargano in a torture rack. Razor went to slam him, but he countered into a tornado DDT and got the tag to Ciampa. Ciampa was slapping the side of Razor's head, and then he landed a nice knee to the head. He went for a German suplex, but was pushed into the corner. He countered with the boot and was able to connect with a huge German suplex, and the crowd was popping right there, and they got a near fall. Great near fall. Crowd bought it because I don't think the Authors of Pain have ever been lifted up like that as much as they have in this match. So getting the crowd behind him was a good call. Razor actually held both men at one point, and he landed a double fall-away slam. It looked like he crushed Ciampa's skull underneath his weight. His head was like right underneath his back when he fell backwards. The Authors of Pain went for their double powerbomb spot, but DIY countered it into Hurricanranas, and the Authors of Pain bumped heads. They hit their finisher, but Ellering distracted the ref. It was at this point the Revival appeared from under the ring and took out Gargano. Ciampa went after Ellering before the Authors of Pain hit him with the last chapter to get the win. Great match, great storytelling. By far, Authors of Pain, their best match to date. They sold enough for DIY that it made it believable that they could win, and DIY had enough equity with the crowd that they've been a winning team before that they could be the ones to defeat Authors of Pain. The Authors of Pain are getting better. We're definitely past the point of having 2-minute squash matches, and if they can keep up this kind of pace with teams like the Revival, DIY, and even the match they had with No Way Jose and Rich Swann last week, they could actually be a really good tag team in NXT. And I do want to say that I called that the Revival would be interfering and costing DIY the match. So, one for one of my predictions with a little caveat with the outside interference there. We got a vignette for the return, and it said it'll take place next week. I actually rewound it thinking if I missed a name that's returning, but no, it's something new that's coming. So we'll see. Ty Dillinger cut a promo on Bobby Roode, and we got to our second semifinals match of Sanity versus TM61. As they were making their entrance, Sanity attacked TM61. Eric Young actually got involved, and he threw Nick Miller into the steps, and Nikki was involved at some point. Went to a commercial. When they got back, Shane Thorne was the only one to his feet, and he kind of was going at it, 1-on-2 handicap match. He was laid out with a running uppercut by Alexander Wolf. Miller finally got to his corner, but it didn't last long as Wolf knocked him back off. Miller got the hot tag, and he back suplexed Sawyer Fulton. He then hit both opponents in the corner. Sanity went for a nice neckbreaker suplex combo, but Shane Thorne dropkicked Wolf, and Miller rolled up Fulton to get the win. Not as exciting as the first one. We had a little bit of drama in the beginning of the match, but it was over before you knew it. And with the Authors of Pain winning, you weren't going to have two heel teams going at it, so TM61 winning made it very obvious. It was actually nice to see that the crowd was behind TM61. You guys know my gripe with this team, but NXT fans seem to be in favor of them. So I was 2 for 2 with my semifinals predictions, and hopefully I'm right with TM61 winning in the finals, because the Authors of Pain winning that tournament, it just doesn't seem to fit them. And let's just hope that TM61 has a better showing against the Authors of Pain than they have in their previous meetings. We know how that squash match went a few weeks ago, so let's hope they have a better strategy this time. William Regal was then shown in his office. He said due to the Revival's interference, they would be defending their tag team titles in a 2 out of 3 falls match against Ciampa and Gargano. Didn't we already see that kind of match between these two teams before? I mean, I'm not complaining, but I would think they would come up with something a little different for a stipulation. Should be a great match regardless. Bobby Roode then cut his own promo on Ty Dillinger. Third match, Rachel Evers, or also Rachel Ellering, went up against Ember Moon. It's been a while since we saw Ember Moon. Ember dominated Evers. She landed a nice hurricane and went for some quick roll-ups. She missed a crossbody, and Rachel took control, took her turn on offense. Ember caught Evers with a couple knee strikes and forearms to the throat. She then hit a springboard forearm smash in the corner before winning with her jumping stunner. decent match. It was more of a squash match than anything that showcased Ember Moon, just to keep her in the fans' minds. Kind of surprised she doesn't have a match for TakeOver, though. You have Asuka, Mickie James, another women's match. Maybe they'll throw something at her, but I kind of expect Billie Kay, Liv Morgan to get like a pre-show kind of match. And in a surprise announcement, we actually have word that Cedric Alexander will face Andrade Cien Almas next week, not at TakeOver. So obviously they would have fought, but I was expecting this to be a TakeOver match. It would have been a nice opening match to kick off the event, but I think that'll go to Rude and Dillinger at this point. So now it's time for the final segment, the contract signing. William Regal was in the ring first. These things usually don't go well, so he knew that, and between the two superstars, he had 6 security guards with him in the ring. Nakamura came out first. Joe came out, but then he went back and pulled out a table and his own chair and set it at the top of the stage. He said he's staying up there not to protect himself, but to protect Nakamura. He then called the crowd a bunch of mouth breathers, and that is by far my favorite insult to call anyone. You know those people that are just sitting there breathing out their mouth and just very loud, and it's very annoying. He then ordered William Regal to bring him the contract, not to walk down there. William Regal hesitated, but he walked up the ramp to bring it to him. Joe then made fun of his accent and told him to hurry up. Joe signed, and he went to hand it to Regal, but he dropped it on the table, forcing him to pick it up. The crowd was silent through most of this. They were entertained, but I have a feeling they were waiting for something to happen. Nakamura took the contract. He was holding it in one hand, looked around, and then he dropped it, and then he started beating the crap out of all 6 security guards. As he was looking at Joe, he ended up powerbombing one of the guards through the table. He then finally signed it and threw it on top of the guy that he powerbombed. Referees came out to keep Joe away, and they kept them separated as the show closed. Very different compared to the other contract signings that we've seen. Obviously, we saw the one with Asuka and Nia Jax, that Asuka just kicked the crap out of her. We've seen ones that ended up in a brawl throughout the ring. So keeping these two separated, that this feud's gone on long enough that we've seen these two get in contact with each other. So keeping them separated for this week and hopefully next week leading up to TakeOver will make for much better anticipation. Like I said, this feud has been going on for a little while, so interest may be dwindling a little bit. But hopefully this is the last match, and Nakamura retains, and Samoa Joe can move up to the main card. Speaking of Samoa Joe, he's been playing his character beautifully ever since turning heel. Being a dick to William Regal, beating the crap out of everyone to get what he wants. It's going to suck to lose that on NXT whenever he gets the call. Overall, it was a decent show. The tournament itself hasn't been the same as it was last year. I don't know if it's the match quality or the teams themselves, but there's been a lot more storylines building around the matches that have probably clouded some of the results. We had one forfeit. We had another one that was changed to a singles match due to injury. Obviously, they can't control that. And we also had one member of a team, Bobby Roode, walk out on his partner, Ty Dillinger. I was expecting that to happen regardless, but I wasn't expecting it in the first round. So that gave Sanity the easy win. The Revival moved on, or not the Revival, DIY moved on after the second round, and TM61 moved on after one of them defeated Roderick Strong. So it's kind of been disappointing. I mean, it's great to see the tournament and everything put together, honoring Dusty Rhodes, but just some of the storylines and stuff built around it kind of takes away from what the tournament should be. The show itself was, like I said, was good. DIY and Authors of Pain was a great match. TM61 and Sanity was all right. Ember Moon won in 3 minutes, so that was that. And then the contract signing was different in a good way. So another episode of NXT in the books. Next week we have Andrade Cien Almas against Cedric Alexander. And the updated TakeOver card, we have Joe Nakamura for the NXT title, the Revival, DIY, and a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NXT Tag Team titles, Asuka versus Mickie James for the NXT Women's Championship, Ty Dillinger and Bobby Roode, and the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals of TM61 and the Authors of Pain. Alright, so you can follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. Rate, review, comment, subscribe to the show on YouTube, and I'll be back next week with episode 88, where I will give my TakeOver Toronto predictions. See you next week. Peace.